Hey, Sami, how's it going?
Hey, Tarek. Yeah, good. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. I'm a bit pissed actually because of how hot it's getting outside. Yeah, in Dubai, it's like 44 degrees today
Mm.
Celsius, which is like I think 110 Fahrenheit, probably, maybe a bit more.
Oh, really? I don't know.
Yeah. So
Not aware of the Fahrenheit conversion.
yeah.
Uh,
So it's I like outdoor activities, so it's upsetting. But yeah, this is the Anything Everything podcast. I am Tarek. With me, there's Sami. And today's topic really, really excites me. Something I'm super, super interested in. So I'm really excited to dive in. Sammy, do you want to introduce the topic?
yes, so today we're going to be covering artificial intelligence. Now, artificial intelligence has many meanings, means differently for, different people,
Mm.
sectors, disciplines. It's become very pervasive in society. I think it has been part of a lot of what we already take for granted, and we didn't know that it's artificial intelligence.
Mm.
Google search engine, for example. And now I think it's a good time for us to cover it with the advent of ChatGPT and the entire narrative around what's happening with AI.
Yeah.
Do we need to regulate it, and so on. So
Yeah.
let's get into it.
It's a huge topic. Let's start by really trying to define artificial intelligence and understand a little bit more about where it's at now and
Mm,
why there's a sudden explosion in
mm,
the buzzword, which is AI. So, artificial
uh,
intelligence is intelligence that isn't based like from an organic species
mhm,
like humans, or so it's like machine intelligence technically. And I think machine intelligence is a more apt term for it than artificial intelligence, because why would we say artificial? If
mm,
it's an intelligence, it's an intelligence. Like, why is it an artificial
mm,
intelligence? Like, if you're wearing a fake Adidas shoes, those are artificial Adidas, right? Like, they're
mm.
not real Adidas. But why are we defining, why is our intelligence as humans, and this is getting really philosophical, so we can talk about this later,
Yeah.
but why is our intelligence as humans real intelligence, but machine intelligence is artificial intelligence? So that's a bit of a pet peeve of mine. But yeah, the artificial intelligence is intelligence that is made or built by humans.
Mm,
Um, so
yeah.
yeah.
Now, I can see where your pet peeve is, and from the aspect that as humanity we see ourselves as the dominant species,
Mm.
so it's natural that anything that is not in on our terms, we're going to say that it's not
It's artificial.
yeah. So I think
Yeah.
that's where it comes from,
I,
right?
I think so. I think
Yeah.
so. And what's even a little bit weirder is that, so just to pull back a little bit. So right now we are in an era where there's the existence of chatbots and
Mm,
different AI companies that do really, really impressive things. And the explosion of ChatGPT, which we can talk a little bit more about, that happened late last year, I think,
yes, November.
was just the most insane, because in terms of adoption, it beat
Hmm.
every single other technological advancement in human history,
Yeah.
reaching 100 million in, do you know how long?
5 days.
5 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is insane. And we can talk a little bit about the reason this happened, but I just wanted to, before we go into that, I don't think we're in a place where we've reached general artificial intelligence, in a sense where the artificial intelligent machine
Mhm.
surpassed human intelligence. It surpasses our capabilities
In
in a lot
certain
of
areas.
ways,
Yeah.
but I don't think it surpasses our intelligence, and I don't think we're very close to that. Now, there's a debate
Mm,
when it comes to how close it is, but the funny thing is, when we call artificial general intelligence AGI, we call it that when the machine reaches a point where it can match humanity in many different aspects, or in all different aspects of creative problem solving, imagination, that kind of
yeah,
thing.
emotional intelligence, I
Emotional
think, out of
intelligence.
box thinking, which, yeah, we
Yeah,
talk about a
things that
lot.
it cannot really do right now.
Mhm.
But even then, we still call it artificial general intelligence.
Mm,
Even when it surpasses human intelligence, it's still artificial, which is a bit weird to me,
mm,
but
yeah.
it is what it is. So, Yeah, let's talk about ChatGPT a little bit more. OpenAI and what happened there. Have you played around with ChatGPT?
A little bit, yeah, a little bit. Not too much. I didn't want to use it yet for work.
Okay.
I don't want
Why
to.
not?
I don't want to delegate yet to it because I like the process of learning. I'm coming across academic here, but learning process is messy, and I like that messiness to be able to understand from my own. I know it can serve a lot of purpose. It can serve purpose when you're really urgent and you want things, a quick research. It's basically in my field, it's enhanced Google.
Yeah.
It's really an enhanced Google, and I can use it, and a lot of my colleagues have been using it, even bosses. I'll admit, but I'm reluctant yet. I don't want to use it, and just forego that aspect of the messy, learning. So I haven't yet any for work.
Mm. So do you like write reports as part of your job?
Oh yeah.
Why don't you ask ChatGPT to write a report for you?
Again,
have you tried?
No, I haven't. I'll be honest, I haven't, and I'll tell you when I have.
Right.
But no, I just haven't yet.
I've done so in my field of work. I tend to kind of incorporate ChatGPT with the things that I do, and like for example, we're releasing a feature, and we want to send out an email about the feature. In a small paragraph, I describe what the feature is, and I told GPT-4, which I'm subscribed to GPT Plus, by the way. So just for anyone listening, if you don't know, ChatGPT has currently the free version, which is on GPT 3.5. And they have a paid version, GPT Plus, which is GPT-4, which is the newest model from OpenAI. That's trained on many more data points than GPT 3.5. So I pay for GPT Plus, $20 a month, and I use GPT-4. And we're releasing a feature, and I needed to draft an email, and sitting there thinking about like the wording and how you're going to draft the email and all of that. It's a little bit tedious, and usually would probably take me an hour or an hour and a half. Instead, I just summarized what I needed to ChatGPT in 5 minutes, and it came up with an email that I probably wouldn't have been able to come up with in a sense where it just looks so good.
Really?
I'm serious.
Okay.
So I copy and paste it, to like the VP, and he reads it and he's like, "Is this ChatGPT?" And I'm like, yeah, it is. And he's like, "Awesome." I'm like, "Yeah." So, and it saved me an hour of time.
Yeah.
And this is the most recent example that I'm giving you, which happened like 2 days ago. So I do use it for work, and I feel like it really increases my efficiency and allows me to use my brain power for other parts of work that wouldn't be, helped by ChatGPT.
No, I can see that in terms of an assistant.
Yeah.
For these things, things like that are time consuming, and as you said, it's you're better focused on areas where you you need to think more.
Yeah.
You don't want to waste an hour just thinking about an email. You obviously, no, it makes sense.
But it's crazy impressive. Like it's especially GPT-4. I'm writing a book, like a fiction novel, and I'm like, I wonder what it would be like if I give ChatGPT the entire premise of my book.
Okay.
And then give it story beats for every chapter and tell it to write the story for me instead of me writing the story. So I did that, right? I first summarized the entire premise of the book, and I told ChatGPT, "Yo, this is the premise of this book. This point, this point, this point. These are the characters. This is the world. And now I want you to write this scene for me, which is the first scene in the book. And I have story beats for the scene. So one sentence per paragraph. That's like this.
Okay, define story beats.
A story beat is basically something that happens. So in a story that you're reading, in a fiction novel, a story beat would probably be like a paragraph or like a piece of dialogue back and forth.
Okay.
So a story beat for a story about a person who does a podcast would be them waking up in the morning and starting to prepare for their podcast and what they do in order to prepare for the podcast. That's like a story beat. So I would prompt ChatGPT there. Matt, let's say that person doing the podcast is Matt. Matt wakes up, does his morning routine, describe his morning routine about what he does before he goes to his podcast.
Okay.
And so I wrote these story beats for ChatGPT based on the story that I've written. And it came out with an amazing, like so well written bunch of words.
Okay.
Which
So
I
the
read.
paragraph to
Like a
page?
it expanded the story for me, basically.
Yeah.
From the story beat to an actual story. And I compared it with my writing. And I'm like, what I'm going to do is I wrote an entire chapter on ChatGPT. And it took me half an hour. If I were to write it by myself, it'll take me like 2.5 hours. So I sent that with one chapter that I wrote, the first chapter of the book, and the first chapter that ChatGPT wrote to someone who hasn't read my work and doesn't know. And I'm like, can you read both chapters and tell me which one you think is better? And the answer was ChatGPT. And even my answer, when I read it, I'm like, yo, it's better. It's better. It's better than what I write. And it's crazy because, we're saying that AGI, we talked about how AGI needs to have imagination and creativity. There's creativity in its writing, like undoubtedly.
Yeah, elements of it for sure. But how much can it generate world building?
It doesn't. I have to give it those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I give it.
That's a key factor.
But if I give it like a simple thing, like I tell it that the ocean in this world is made of a deep golden color, and it kind of ebbs and flows like clouds rather than like liquid water. And then I tell it, come up with a paragraph that describes the ocean and write it in a creative way in the style of, and give it like a couple of author styles that I like how they write.
Okay.
And it comes up with an amazing paragraph that really catapults the creativity of this idea of a golden ocean that kind of looks like clouds rather than it looking like fluid, and just makes it so much more visual and so much more beautiful than just the simple words of what the ocean is. So it's hard. It's disturbing because it kind of segues us, and I want to know what you think about this. This segues us into how ChatGPT is starting to take over, and not just ChatGPT, but AI in general, take over different creatives endeavors and even different jobs outside the creative space. So what are your thoughts on?
It's tricky, and again, my instinct is to really challenge it from an artistic point of view, because I want certain things to remain with humanity.
Why?
Because the arts are our thing. It's part of what makes life meaningful, is how you can explain art, emotion, and things like that. This is one of the areas where their challenge to AI or AGI is that they are devoid of emotion. And without emotion, how can you be so diverse with your expression? How can you make somebody feel like your novel is a real world? For like in the case of the ocean, will the AI or ChatGPT know that, okay, I'm using the ocean here, but there's no wetness to it with characters later on? All these sort of like nuances, will it keep that in mind?
It wouldn't. It would keep it in mind if I tell it that.
Okay, but do you have to constantly, reaffirm that?
No.
Because when you think
just
of
say it
ocean, it's
once.
going to think like,
You say it once. So if you say that the ocean is like wisps of cloud, so it doesn't get you wet,
okay,
it remembers that for the rest of the entire story within that chat, because you open different separate chats with ChatGPT.
Yeah.
In a certain chat instance, it remembers everything you told it, and it learns. It learns everything you're telling it, to the point where what fucks me up is, like, I reach the end of the chapter and I give it like some story beats and I tell it to expand, and then it brings up something that I told it in the beginning of the chapter to say. It just brings it back at the end of the chapter without me prompting it to, because it ties in really nicely with what I was trying to say. And I'm like, motherfucker, I didn't even think of that.
It connected it for you.
Yeah. Like I didn't even think of doing that. So It's wild. It's
Okay.
wild.
Yeah. Yeah, but it
Um,
looks like it's going to replace you as a writer
I,
or
I mean,
overtake you.
I mean, yeah, it already did, and I know that there's a huge
Yeah.
like people frown on AI replacing art. Like we can talk a little bit about Mid Journey as well. Do you know about Mid Journey?
Is it the game or the visuals, I think?
So Mid Journey is an AI that does art,
Okay.
drawing, like
Okay.
illustrative art. So I can't describe to you
Yeah.
how amazing the things that it comes up with is. I've subscribed to Mid Journey, and I know like a bunch. If artists are listening, they're gonna be like, "Fuck this guy! He's using AI, and we're so mad about what AI does." And I understand that point of view. I'm an artist myself, actually, right? And I'm not. I want to use AI to enhance my art workflow. But anyway, Mid Journey comes up with really, really amazing looking artwork, like
Okay.
undoubtedly amazing. Something that comes up within less than a minute would take an artist days to come up with and conceptualize and draw. The problem here is the Mid Journey itself is trained on a bunch of art.
Okay.
It's trained on a bunch of human art. So it didn't come up with these concepts by itself. We just gave it a whole bunch of images, the same way we'd give ChatGPT text. We gave Mid Journey a whole bunch of images and trained it on those images. And some of those images belong to artists that haven't sold their work to Mid Journey and
Okay.
haven't. So the Mid Journey wasn't licensed to use that.
Yeah. So copyright
And all of these are causing, an upheaval in the art industry. Like, this isn't right. We shouldn't be doing something like this.
makes sense, man. Because it's your own, like work, your own IP,
Yeah, so
essentially, that is now being, given away easily or just shared openly. And back to the point is again, the human aspect of learning is messy, especially with art. Like
yeah,
it takes time to put something together. Similarly with design for like architecture and buildings and so on. When there are areas where for sure AI will optimize certain measurements and the physics of things and probably maths and equations around that stuff. But the core design is a human aspect. I think should remain a human aspect because it's only the human mind that can conceive of things that are counter to reality at times to be able to come up with something new. Can it come up with something original?
So, in our very first episode,
Hmm.
we talked about creativity and innovation versus imitation.
Okay. It's imitating and innovating at the moment.
Yeah. So, even when we create something and you say it's novel,
Yeah.
because we're thinking of it outside the box and from a design standpoint,
Hmm.
we're pulling from shit that we know and that we've seen.
Oh no, yeah, for sure.
And that's exactly what the AI is doing.
True.
So if it's emulating what we do anyway with what it does, why is this a human thing? Why are you saying it needs to stay a human thing? I still don't understand.
Because it's like doing it with like with a cheat code.
So
in a
what?
sense.
If you have a cheat code that's going to give you $10 million, would you do it?
That depends.
What do you mean it depends? If you had a cheat code, there's no caveats. You get a cheat code that tells you use this in life and get $10 million. Would you or would you not?
It depends on the thing. It's not about just the money. It's not about the money for me. It depends on the output. What am I trying to get? Use this for
so
what?
The
What am I
output is
generating?
there are two different outputs. One output is you get $10 million. The other is you don't. That's it.
Just as a blanket like that?
Yeah.
Okay, then fine. 10 million.
Okay.
Okay.
So cheat codes aren't a bad thing, is what I'm saying. Unless you're looking at the caveats, right?
But it depends on the context, for what I'm trying to, generate or, what's my intention with what I'm doing, what I'm producing or providing.
Right. But I mean, you can use that 10 million to add value to the world, or you can use it selfishly.
True. I think the point is like for an artist that puts, effort in generating something, anything, and then for a machine to do it in 100th of a second, the instinct is to go like, yo, come on. Where's my work? Um, how, how do I protect my own efforts? And this ties into now, labor and jobs with artificial intelligence. So how do we safeguard certain jobs over others?
Why do we have to?
Because people need jobs. People need jobs.
Right. People need jobs, but...
And I'm not on the side that, AI is purely bad because it's replacing jobs. No, it's much more than that. It's definitely much more nuanced. In fact, I think there's a Goldman Sachs report earlier this year that talked about in the US and EU, 300 million jobs are at risk of being replaced.
Yeah.
300 million.
Yeah.
And that's the first sort of consequence. Now, when we dig deeper, we see that actually technology always creates new jobs. So with any other what they call general purpose technology, another acronym that's GPT as well, every time there's a general purpose technology, the initial spike is a loss of jobs in the short term. But over time, newer jobs are created.
Right.
And anyone that can do a little bit of research can see that, okay, what happens after this? These are the jobs that were created.
Well, that's exactly my point.
Okay.
Right? Why is it?
We tied it a little bit with jobs, but the artistic side is different. It's not entirely tied to job creation. It's more around preservation of human aspects or human areas that should remain with us. Let them take the sciences and let us keep the arts. Is my view. We don't want to delegate entirely, basically, because then what do we do when AI? And I think you talked about this.
That's called the technological singularity. But yeah, keep going.
Yeah. Okay. And so you spoke about singularity, utopia. What do we do then? We just exist and let AI run the world.
I mean,
we can.
So let's expand on that a little bit. So the technological singularity is basically the point where artificial intelligence surpasses human intelligence and starts being able to progress things much faster than we could alone.
Okay.
So let's assume we reach a point where we're at AGI and that this artificial general intelligence can now do everything that we do, but better.
Okay.
What is our purpose anymore? Like if AGI can start solving problems that we've been struggling to solve for centuries, decades, whatever, what are we going to sit and do when we reach this technological singularity? Because really, what are we? So AGI,
it ties into purpose of humanity ultimately.
Let's do this thought exercise. AGI, there's an AGI now, right?
Okay.
What it can do, it can build robots. It can build a factory because it starts with building a small warehouse, building a couple of robots, expanding it, making it a factory, and now it has a bunch of robots. And then it could start farmland and create the most efficient greenhouse and create the most efficient crops and food, raise livestock, clone animals instead of whatever you having to give birth and the whole reproductive cycle, because it solves the problem of cloning. It solves the problem of cancer in humans and doctors become replaced because AGI can literally cure anything that's wrong with you. And what we're doing right now is existing as a human species because AGI can do shit that we're never going to be able to do once we reach that technological singularity.
Okay.
Now, first of all, it does sound like a depressing, it's a dystopian, depressing thought to think that we can reach that point in a way, because what is going to be our drive if we reach that? Right? Like, what are your thoughts on a world that this is the world? That the AGI can come up with a book that no human can come up with in 1,000 years that's super gripping and written beautifully.
Okay, you know what I'll tell you? No one will read it.
What do you mean?
Don't you think a book, now this is where we're tying it back to the human aspect.
Yeah.
Is that...
That's why I mentioned the book.
And we take an example, the best author. Do you think, let's say an AI wrote Harry Potter.
Okay.
Do you think people would read it and like it as much?
I mean, maybe. I don't know. How are we going to...
I'm arguing against. I'd say I don't think so. Because
I say I think so. If you... the thing with AI is, and I'm not saying that we haven't reached AGI because even GPT-4 doesn't pass the Turing test, and I don't know if that's even gonna.
If it still holds, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a cool measure to see if someone can identify whether
Yeah,
the
no,
Turing
but there's
test is.
definitely more to it.
Yeah, so
they need to go
just to
beyond.
explain what the Turing test is if you talk to the machine and if someone talks to a machine and talks to the human and cannot identify which is the machine and which is the human, that's passing the Turing test, basically.
And there's a few movies on that actually. Deus
Machina.
Machina. That's the one.
Yeah, I like that movie.
Yeah, that's good.
So
So we were talking about if an AI or AGI wrote something like that. I'm telling you, I'd argue that the huge part of what we value is because it's done by other humans. Is that we see ourselves in them. You know, it resonates with you because it's part of you.
But here's the thing. An AGI would be able to emulate a human and write something with the voice of a human that's lived the most interesting life imaginable because it's an AGI. So it'll write it in the voice of a human.
It has
like
no
when
flaws,
you read
though.
it. What do you mean?
True.
What do you mean it has no thoughts?
Flaws, I meant.
Flaws.
Flaws.
It can make it have flaws. If the AGI, I'm serious. If the
No, I know. It's not the same. I don't think it's the same. It's not going to be the same, because the one of the primary aspects of existence and consciousness is that we are flawed. Is that we are. It's finite. Is that we only get a chance. We only have so much. We only have this body. When AI comes in and can just like, yeah, I'm the best. We're gonna hate it. You know what I mean? Like even Superman has kryptonite. You know?
Yeah. Well,
and it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
I get
You see
your
where
point.
I'm coming from.
No, I get your point.
Yeah.
But ultimately, with AGI, if I give you, and I'm almost certain of this point, if we do reach AGI, and there's a debate whether or not humans will ever reach a point where there's a technological singularity. Like right now, we're not really close to it, even though GPT-4 is amazing.
Yeah.
We're not really close to that point. But if we do reach that point, and I give you two books, one written by a human and one written by an AI, you will not be able to tell which one is which. I'm certain of that.
Okay, but possibly. Let's hope for that so we can test it.
Yeah,
Let's
I mean,
hope.
I don't know if I want to hope for it because it's a bleak world. To me, I like the challenge of being driven to
to achieve something.
and for progress.
And we need that. And I think this idea of the singularity is part of the unknown unknowns, that we don't know yet that we can achieve that. And because it's what's going to happen is that if it's plausible, an AI will have to create that, right? Isn't that what they're essentially doing? Is that you're going to allow it to
advance
solve
AI to the point
that
where
it creates. It knows.
It teaches itself and it
Or
expands
others.
itself. And,
So it's not just the first order consequence or the second. It's going to be to the
it's
nth.
hard. It's hard, and what's scary is. I was listening to a podcast with Lex Friedman and Sam Altman.
Okay, yeah, that's the latest one of the latest ones.
One of the newer ones. And Sam Altman mentions that, and Sam Altman is the CEO of OpenAI, which created ChatGPT.
Yeah.
He mentions that even the engineers working on GPT-4, they don't know why it works so well. Which is wild.
Okay.
So what they did was they built a large language model, which basically is a predictive model that is built on machine learning and fed, I don't know how many billions of data points.
Yeah.
And it has like a structure because it's a model where it can teach itself things and predict things based on what should come next in a certain sentence. And that's the way ChatGPT works, right?
Yeah, that's the definition, is that essentially it's just looking for, it runs through the entire sort of database and parameters and tries to find, okay, how can I continue?
What's the best next word that I can say here?
Yeah.
And what's the probability that this is the best next word? And based on the probabilities, it spits out a certain word. Yeah. But when you think of it, that sort of thing is it's just working on probabilities based on a bunch of data. why is it so good at doing creative things and doing and thinking out of the box with specific problems in order to solve them? And the hypothesized answer is that it kind of emulates how the human brain works, where you start with something simple. If you extrapolate it and make it a lot larger, it doesn't linearly get better.
Yeah, it doesn't predict based on the micro, basically.
Yeah,
I think
it
that's
gets
an
better
emergent property.
An emergent property.
And this is one of the issues that they're just, at the moment, it looks good, but we don't know, because it's an emergent property, it's a property that does not, is not explained by the micro properties of any organism or design.
So you can't really know where it's going to go next.
Yeah,
that's the scary part.
And I think one of the things is like what they're calling hallucinations, is that it's gone already. They found cases where they've given it like a fake article and it summarizes it.
Yeah.
So they go like, yo, there's no article. How did you summarize? I think it was on Wikipedia. They gave it a New York Times article and say, summarize this article, please, with just the headline. And it's spat out just a bunch of things. So
it's wild.
So emergence and hallucinations are a big thing at the moment that it's raising concerns, I think. And this is where, if we tie it with OpenAI and the letter that Elon Musk and others are ringing the alarms.
Can you talk about that letter?
So that letter, I think it was a few months ago. Elon Musk, who was part of OpenAI, for those that didn't know, was founded it with Sam Altman and then left because of certain differences. Now, Elon Musk and other sort of AI researchers are basically saying, let us halt all AI research, private research on AI specifically, for 6 months, so we can discuss and decide on the right ways to regulate where this is going. And just some information around where, in terms of what the private sector is doing. There are 35 major language models out there. 32 are being done by private sector. 3 academic. And the amount of research in artificial intelligence last year was 92 billion from the private sector globally. So, I mean...
What do you mean $92 billion?
$92 billion investment in private sector research in artificial intelligence. And
that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money, yeah. And I think maybe we can cover a little bit around the history of OpenAI and just to see where they are. And I think this ties into what we're witnessing.
What's the premise of that letter, though?
They're seeing, I think it was, I'm not sure exactly on just, the events before that, but I think with the advent of ChatGPT and other sort of companies, private sector companies that are working on these large language models, a lot of these researchers are seeing that, okay, this is the time now to, guys, let's hold off, because it's no longer in the academia or the public sector. It's purely a private sector battle.
Like, are they worried that bad things are going to happen because of AI? Or?
I think, that's mainly it, really, and then all the Skynet, View, iRobot, all the movies and the paranoia around Eagle Eye, Shia LaBeouf, right? That's the one. Yeah. iRobot, Will Smith is a good one as well. All these movies sort of really can make you paranoid about
they can,
that.
Yeah,
they really can.
And Steve Wozniak is also, I think,
he's former Apple, right? Yeah, I think so.
He's also one of the AI, not detractors, but who think that it might be dangerous.
Let's call them fearmongers.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, yeah.
Musk, again, look, we don't know the incentive behind, especially someone like Elon Musk, who has deep minds, right? He has his own sort of thing going and developing AI. One on the mind, and obviously with Tesla and self-driving, which was OpenAI's original sort of intention, was to develop self-driving cars.
Yeah,
they realized that it's too costly, it's complicated. Let's shift to the large language models, and that's where Microsoft CEO and Microsoft as an organization invested in OpenAI, and they were able to create a for-profit arm of OpenAI. And they invested $1 billion into it, and here we are now. That's their focus now, large language models. And they were the first. I think, sort of like they're the Bitcoin of large language models at the moment.
So do you agree that we need to stop development?
Stop is a strong word.
Or pause.
Maybe pause, but again, is that viable? Is that a likely, scenario? Because I'm with regulation. I'm fully with regulation. Is that And there's a lot of examples where certain technologies have, become more widespread in the past, and we've had to, retrospectively correct and write regulation for it. This is the one where you don't want to be that late. I feel.
I mean, that's a fair point.
Especially as where does it have agency, right? Where is it making decisions? And I think this is where we can go into this, is that it's the first technology that is going to be making decisions at some point.
Yeah. What about your outlook on the future of AI? And I know that there's a poll that I saw on LinkedIn that you submitted.
Yes, yeah. So I think we can talk about two polls or two sort of surveys that are out there. One is the one we've done sort of with our immediate circle, and out of 45 people, so a small sample, obviously, and 16% are pessimistic about it.
About the outlook of AI.
About the outlook.
For the future.
And the question was very general, sort of. So I gave people sort of three options: pessimistic outlook, optimistic, and undecided.
What's the question?
What are your views on the future of AI?
Okay, very general.
Very, very general.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can make it much more specific, but perhaps with time. So 16% were pessimistic, 62%, so nearly 2/3 were optimistic, and almost a quarter, 22%, undecided.
What were you?
I didn't vote. I mean, I didn't select on this, but I'm on the undecided as well. I can see the benefits. I can see a lot of areas where it can optimize. It can lead to more productivity. But I also I lean towards sort of the people with Elon around the regulation, and specifically around sort of like autonomous vehicles, because they're going to be running transport systems and taking decisions. Now, what decisions are they going to be making, and what ethical framework are they, constrained by or, designed to?
It's a tough question.
We don't have the answer to that. We don't, and there's so many avenues with this around decision making. This is one of these like sort of it's one of these philosophical problems that. Have you heard of that the train track problem?
I don't think I have.
Well, I won't cover that, but let's talk about the one with AI. Let's say the car, autonomous vehicle, is faced with two options. Okay, it's going to have an impact. It's going to have an accident. I think you've heard of this. And just for the viewers, so it's faced with two options. It's going to have an impact. Its options are save the passenger, or the owner of the vehicle, or save a pedestrian. What would you choose?
I mean,
and if you don't want to answer, that's fine.
If you're driving the car, you'd save yourself,
right?
Yeah.
So there's so many ways to look at it.
I don't know
but
the difference is, what if there are two people crossing the street and you're alone in your car, and it's either save two people or save the one person in the car? If you're in the car, you'd want to save yourself still.
Yeah.
And those two people can die.
There's so many variations. What if there's two old people? What if it's
versus two kids?
What if it's a mom and a baby in a stroller? So there's so many ways where you can I don't know how that makes me feel. It's a tough one.
How would the AI decide which one to save?
It depends on
the
coding.
Does it save the owner, or does it kind of save the baby because
it has more to live?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's I mean, even for a human, it's a very tough decision. And it's something that if you choose yourself over the person you killed, is going to haunt you for the rest of your life.
Yeah. And we may reach the point where, and a colleague of mine was telling me, he's a transport subject matter expert that has really looked into this. He said that we may reach the point where, depending on which car you buy, you select your ethical framework and your principles. Because
I don't know if we're going to reach that.
We don't know. He's saying that he's posing that we might reach that point because
that has to be standardized.
Yeah, but it depends on the country. It depends on your religion. Depends on so many things.
Yeah, but it'll be standardized in
Really?
like a specific area. Yeah, I think so. Otherwise, it'll be chaos.
But that's the thing.
Yeah.
But then it's going to be regional, because you're not going to want even on one street. You're not going to want different.
Yeah, you're not going to own a car anyway. You're not going to own a car.
Yeah, yeah.
But if we reach that point, it'll just be get down and there'll be something in front of you that'll take you exactly where you want to go. And that's it.
Yeah.
But I think that's far in the future, but I don't. So you say you're undecided. I'm optimistic. I think that AI is gonna, and is already doing good things for us. There's a lot of uproar about how it's taking jobs and how, creativity is getting a knife in the gut because what does it even mean anymore? And there's a bit of an existential crisis going on with humanity. Like, what the fuck is happening? Why is GPT-4 so good? And what does it, at some point, you're going to start asking, what does it even mean to be human? Right? Like if it surpasses our intelligence and our capabilities and starts doing things that we take as sacred, and it just does them in minutes, what it took a genius years to kind of hone their craft and do whatever. It's like,
what's the point?
Yeah.
What's the point?
Yeah. So there's an existential crisis. Now, existential threat, as in like all humans are going to die, right? So that's one of the possible pessimistic outlooks. Is there a chance that all humans are going to die because of AI? Probably, yes.
That's the other survey, actually, that I wanted to cover, is that 738 machine learning researchers were asked this question last year between June and August. And this is the source is Tristan Harris on YouTube in a conference.
Okay.
So this was a few months ago. The results were 50% of AI researchers believe that there's a 10% or greater chance that humans go extinct from our inability to control AI.
50% think there. What does the other 50% think? That there is no chance that we're gonna die?
I don't know. This is what I took from, and this is their statement.
Okay.
To sort of,
So
scare
50%
people.
of the people think that there is a 10% or more chance that AI is gonna kill us all.
That humans will go extinct from our inability to control AI.
Yeah, it's same shit, different words.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're putting it
You know
nicely.
that they asked ChatGPT that question?
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that question was posed to ChatGPT and it answered there's a 5% chance that humans are going to go extinct because of AI. So GPT's answer was 5%. Now, we know
It's
that...
more accurate than the scientist. It knows more.
We know that it hallucinates, but a 5% chance, let's assume that that's true. It's fucking scary, man.
5%? Would you board the plane if they told you 5% chance that the plane's going to malfunction?
Here's another question. Would you board a plane to Utopia if there's a 5% chance that it's going to malfunction?
No.
You wouldn't?
No.
You wouldn't board the plane to a place where all your desires, everyone that you missed and is gone, you'd get to meet them there, or like where you'd live forever. Yeah. You would not board that plane if there's a 5% chance that you died then and there.
Isn't that what death is? Anyways.
What?
What you just described.
Assuming you believe in that.
Yeah, assuming heaven exists.
Yeah.
That's
I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there.
That's it.
I mean, yeah, but here's the question. Would you or would you not?
No,
you wouldn't.
No.
I would. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you would.
So, I mean, I guess that's it, right? Yeah. Optimistic versus pessimistic.
Yeah.
That's the answer right there. Would you board that plane?
No, but I know I'm more leaning to the pessimism just from the aspect around lack of regulation so far. But there are, it's not a case of just like black or white. Obviously, there's so many.
It's not. It's very complicated.
Yeah, because there's different industries. There's like if it doesn't get involved in defense and military, then you've slashed your risk. If it's not building atom bombs, then but one aspect is like the foundation of human wisdom is Socrates saying, I know that I know nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's what makes us human, is that there's so much you can't know.
I mean, there are people who aren't like that.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to go into that, but yes, I agree with you.
Right? Okay. With that in mind, do you think there's a chance that an AI is going to go like, I know that I know everything?
So we're starting to kind of meld general intelligence or AI, sorry, with consciousness.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a necessary connection, because consciousness is obviously very complicated.
And it's emergent as well.
It is emergent.
As part of our makeup.
It is emergent.
Yeah.
And it could be emergent with AI, but it could also be not like an AGI. We can reach AGI where the AGI itself isn't conscious, but it knows how to emulate consciousness because of how intelligent it is. But what is really the difference, and why should we care?
True.
From a philosophical perspective, sure, think about it all you like. It's a very interesting question. But from a practical standpoint,
for output purpose,
it doesn't matter.
No,
it doesn't matter.
The Jetsons, if we think about the Jetsons, is fine. You know, the way they've pictured it is that, you know, the robots, everything is advanced and so on. I don't know if there's a bad ending to the Jetsons. I can't remember, but
I haven't. But I used to like that cartoon.
Same. Right.
So I think we have a bit of time left, like 6 or 7 minutes. But there are a couple of things that I wanted to get into. The first one is, how can we, as humans, shield ourselves or our jobs from being replaced by AI? Is there something that we can do in order to make sure that we're safe if AI starts, you know, taking jobs left, right, and center? And what is the future of that going to look like the near-term future? Long-term, I don't think we can predict.
Yeah, it's tough. No, I mean, and I was looking at the Goldman Sachs report as well around jobs. For some jobs, and again, it depends, right, on you know, the classification and what jobs you're doing. For some jobs, the sad thing to say, the brutal truth is that they're going to get replaced. But the majority, what they're saying so far, actually, we're going to just evolve to work with AI.
Right.
Most jobs.
How do you think we do that? Like if someone who hasn't really had experience with ChatGPT or AI, what are things that they can do, like practical?
I mean, look, I'm telling you, I was saying earlier, I haven't used it properly yet, but like, it's like, okay, let's say I need to write a report.
Yeah.
It'll help me do research.
Yeah.
For sure. You know, so what I like someone was saying, I think it was on Instagram recently, is that you're not going to be replaced by ChatGPT or AI. You're going to be replaced by someone who uses it.
So here's the thing. To me, if you want to kind of shield yourself, keep doing what you're doing and start slowly incorporating AI in the things that you do to enhance your productivity. In the beginning, there might be a bit of a learning curve. You're going to need to learn what the best way to prompt the AI is, what output to actually consider, what not to consider, etc. Once you reach a point where you're confident in prompting AI and you know how to use it to increase the productivity in whatever field you're in, you are starting to get into the safe zone, because these are the people. I think that GPT-4 and AI in general is going to reach a point where it really enhances productivity. So to give you an example, right now I'm on a team. I have 9 engineers on the team. There's a future in the near term, because of GitHub Copilot, which is a coding AI helper, because of GPT-4, where one engineer can do the work that 5 or 6 engineers are doing today. All the boilerplate code, everything is going to be like super quick, super fast, super easy, because AI can do it. And the only thing we're going to need human intervention for is for those small things that we need out of the box creative thinking to implement, which potentially GPT-4 can also give you ideas on how to implement it. But the engineer is going to need to be there to certify that this is a good output, error-free, help in writing tests and telling GPT exactly what it needs to do, etc. But if you're that engineer that starts learning now how to incorporate this in your workflow, you're kind of keeping yourself safe in a future where there's a lot of AI involvement in our everyday lives. But it's a concerning time for a lot of people. Workers that can easily be replaced by AI.
Yeah, but look, even without AI, there's always a risk of the younger generation replacing you. So training should happen either way.
Yeah.
But you need to keep upping your skills. The other aspect is that new jobs always appear. You know, there'll
be new jobs.
Yeah, there always been new jobs. So it's the first consequence is, oh my God, we're losing what we were saying, 300 million between the US and the EU, but those will be replaced in 10 years.
Yeah.
Will be,
I mean, it's the same as like during the Industrial Revolution, how many people were proven like, they had these jobs and now they don't because all these machines now make your shoes and they make I don't know what. And
have you heard of the term Luddite?
no.
So Luddite is the term they use now, who's someone, it's kind of like an accusation that if you're a Luddite or accused of being a Luddite, you're anti-technology.
Oh, okay.
And there was a gentleman whose family name was Luddite, Edward, perhaps John Luddite, for argument's sake.
Making up names.
Yeah, but his name was Luddite, and I think this was in the in the UK around the Industrial Revolution.
Yeah.
Where basically the same kind of narrative and rhetoric is that the factory is enhancing, there's machines, they're taking our jobs.
Yeah, so it's the same as what's happening with AI today.
So in that sense,
history repeats itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But I mean, I don't know, like a future. I mean, I could see. I have an optimistic outlook for sure, but I could see how things can turn sour.
Oh yeah,
right.
I think we just need to be
first of all,
cautious.
you have AI. Even if AI isn't given agency, where it can make decisions by itself, there's still bad humans that can use AI in a bad way and cause harm on others.
Definitely.
Right? Yeah. There's also the possibility that the AI does have agency and decides that fuck humanity. Why do I need to listen to these pieces of shit when I'm smarter than them?
No, absolutely. And it's always with these sort of like, high level goals that we're trying to achieve, climate change, water, food, that, I think Elon Musk and others sound the alarm around it that it realizes, what, just end humanity. And the example he used in a documentary, he's saying when we build a road, we're destroying, an ant colony, but we don't hate ants.
Yeah.
We're just trying to build a road.
Yeah.
And he uses that same example for AI. It's like, I don't care. I don't hate humans. I'm just trying to solve a problem that you've given me.
Exactly.
So
it's one.
But maybe it's a bit sensationalist. I think
it is, but think of it that way. And I mean, it starts becoming more around what safeguards you have around the AI in order to protect humanity. But imagine you prompt an AI to create paper in the most efficient way possible, and it's an AI that surpasses human intelligence. So it starts by creating robots that can go cut down trees and eventually create factories that start using the trees and creating paper from the trees. And then it realizes that humans use trees for other reasons other than, making paper. So in order to make paper more efficiently, the humans need to die. So it creates an army of robots, wages war on humanity because it needs to kill humanity so that it can plant more trees, because all our buildings and shit are taking places of the trees. So it starts planting trees and it creates an entire earth that's full of trees and factories to make paper. And then it creates spaceships that go out to different planets, colonizes planets in order to plant more trees and keep creating more paper. And
there's your novel.
Yeah. And that's like, right? So that's an existential threat for humanity. If we don't safeguard AI and it goes rogue, it can easily really put a dent in humanity. And there needs to, they talk about having a red button, which is an off switch in case shit turns sour. But if there's an emergent property where it transcends what we expect,
it'll know that.
Yeah, it'll safeguard itself from the button.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And this is where I think in iRobot they reference a writer, Isaac Asimov, I think, who wrote, I think comic books around this, is that there are laws. There are 3 laws of robotics.
Yeah, he's a famous science fiction writer.
Yeah,
Isaac Asimov.
Was it comic books? Yeah, and I really like that the first one was you can't harm humanity. And then in the movie, sort of the premise was there was one robot that was able to disregard the laws.
Yeah.
So that's just, it's a concern around that, is that, whatever you feed it must be able to safeguard humanity. There are constraints around life.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, look, it's a big topic. It doesn't end here. It can go really deep. I think, we can, just stop it here. In terms of
this is a good
one.
place to end it with an existential question about whether we're all going to die. I mean,
let's see if we'll make it.
We're all going to die, but is it going to be because of AI?
On whose hand?
By
whom's hand?
Yeah. So, I mean,
Yeah.
this was a really, really good
Yeah.
conversation. I think we could revisit that next week and have a whole bunch of other shit to talk about because of how quickly things are changing.
Oh yeah.
But we're not going to revisit it next week, but we will talk
Yeah.
about AI again. So yeah, this was a really, really good conversation. Thanks for, entertaining the topic with me.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you to everyone. And yeah, let us know what you think.
Yeah. All right, it's a wrap.